Welcome to Pitchside, the Mayo News Sports Weekly. It's a Tuesday, but the whole county of Mayo is still coming to terms with the big news last night. Taylor Swift has a new album out, or will release a new album. I'm here with my colleague Oisín Bradley. Obviously, we're going to talk about Andy Moran. He is to be the new Mayo senior football manager. He's still not ratified yet, so he isn't officially the manager, but we all know it's only a formality and he'll be ratified. What do you think about Andy as the new manager?
First of all, I think it's great to put an end to the speculation. Listen, we've been sitting here for ages since the decision came out to relieve Kevin McStay of his duties, as they say. Again, with that and the under-20 manager and the under-17 manager, there's been a few blank spaces there for the Mayo County Board to fill, but they've actually wrote in Andy Moran's name, and it's a great appointment, I think. Credit has to go to the county board here, and they come under a bit of slack a lot of the time, and sometimes rightly so, but they said that if someone in place, they've kept to their timeline. And it's going to be great now that Andy and the backroom team there, Colin Boyle and Paddy Talley, they'll be able to get around the grounds and see some of the stars of the club championship now. Where were you actually? I know a lot of people say in these sort of situations, where were you when certain things happened? Where were you when you found out that Andy Moran was going to be the new manager?
I was just home from basketball training because I play basketball myself, and I looked into a WhatsApp group and there it was. I mean, I wasn't particularly surprised because the writings were on the wall, but now it's basically official. Where were you actually yourself?
I was on the way home. Actually, I barely finished up in here. It was a late Monday trying to get our club's championship reports all in and make sure everything was done for the paper coming out today. We had 24 pages there of sports. It was a lot to get it done, but I was on the way back to Knock. I just seen a WhatsApp message coming through from Ronan. I had to just pull over and write the article pretty much on the spot.
Yeah, but you managed to get it online very quickly. Have a look on mayonews.ie, by the way, if you haven't already. But now let's talk about the new manager, Andy Moran. What do you think? What does he bring to the table?
It's interesting what he brings to the table. He's very young in his managerial career. He obviously, we first seen him sort of in any sort of role was with the Mayo under-20s, and he was in with Ballaghaderreen as well under Mike Solon. So that was a bit of an interesting one. His first actual job obviously was in with Leitrim. He went there in 2021. He succeeded Terry Hyland there, and he did a pretty good job. I was reading up, he'd focused a lot on bringing in youth. He famously beat Mayo in a Connacht Championship under-20 game, which I'm sure Mayo won't be too happy to remember.
I think that's a very good one. I feel personally, and I might say something controversial now, it's about time maybe that in Mayo we kind of drop the chase for Sam a little bit, just a tiny little bit, and focus on player development. There's a lot of exciting talent coming through, and we all see it now every weekend. We saw it last weekend in the club championship. Exciting young players, still minors. Kobe McDonald, Crossmolina is one to mention there, others more. And a player like Andy Moran, who is probably one of the best, maybe probably the best player maybe that Mayo ever produced, that this county ever produced. What do you think? Wouldn't he be the right person to teach these new talented players the individual skills that they need, especially with the new rules? The new rules favour footballing skills, classic footballing skills.
Yes, we've seen a lot of that around the grounds over the weekend. Some fantastic individual point scoring things. Obviously, in terms of potential underage talents as well, you have Owen McGrain from Garrymore and Tom Lydon from the Neil. Lads like that, they could be interesting. In the upcoming years, they could really have a chance of having a cut at the panel. I was looking at his time with Monaghan. And he was obviously in as a forwards coach, and one thing which they were really good at was the two-pointer. Something which was, let's be honest, was lacking a bit in Mayo. But he sort of brought that into the Monaghan team, and the spread of scores coming from the half-back lines was something which was a key tenet of Monaghan. I know, listen, they lost to Donegal twice last year, but they had a great run in the National League, getting to the Division 2 final. That was obviously under the new rules. They had a good run in the Ireland series. They topped their group, which is something that Mayo will be looking to do next year. But it'll definitely be interesting. Again, during his time then with Leitrim as well, he was instrumental in bringing new players into the fold. I know there was a bit of criticism from Stephen Poacher of, he never named anyone, but a former Leitrim manager and his player relations. But I kind of wouldn't. He's sort of viewed sometimes as a bit of an anti-hero at times, so I wouldn't really focus too much on that. And then it was obviously shut down by the Monaghan manager later on. It's going to be interesting, and it'll be great to have a new face in there.
New face, obviously. When you look back at how when Kevin McStay was appointed, he was seen as almost a messiah. Maybe he's coming home, and unfortunately, we all know how it ended. The results weren't there, and when the results aren't there, haters gonna hate.
Yeah, it was a bit strange there. As you say, it started so well with Kevin, And then, as again, it was right to get rid of Kevin at the end. The results sort of weren't stacking up the way they should have been. But there was almost a bit of bad blood between, like, you know, between the supporters, between the county board, between the management. It all just sort of didn't end the way it should have. I'd be calling for patience from now on. This is a new story. It's something that's going to be a bit different, and we might see a few negative results along the way. Like, it's a new playing style. There's going to be new players brought in. There's going to be players leaving the panel. Like, that's just the nature of things. Everything moves on a bit, but like, there's going to be bad results in there, more than likely. Maybe there won't be. Like, everyone's hoping there won't be for the sake of Mayo. But if there's a bad result or hammering or something like that, or tactics are a bit off at the start, it's going to take a while. Mayo are far from, well, not far from, I wouldn't say, but they're a bit off where they need to be. That's something which needs to be improved on and built on for 2026. And that's, again, I'm just going to say I'd urge patience. That's what I would leave it at.
Yeah, obviously you were mentioning it, like players coming in, players leaving. Obviously there's one player with a big reputation, and that's Killian Okconor. Do you know, there are rumours out there that he might be back. How would someone, let's put it this way, we don't know, right? But how could someone like Killian Okconor help Andy Moran and the panel, the Mayo players in basically being more successful?
The short answer is experience and lots of kicking ability. He's the top scorer in championship history. He's got everything you'd possibly want in a forward. Andy and him would obviously have known each other quite well from their time in the Mayo panel. They obviously had a good relationship there and linked up quite well to great success. He'd be a great man to have in around the place, that sort of old head that would be in around in the type. You look at what the likes of Michael Murphy's done when he's come back into the fold after playing a year club football. Again, you need a few young players in around that as well. But one issue I have seen over the last year, like, you know, I've watched Mayo more intently than I ever have in the last year since moving here, and they're a touch one-dimensional. You'd say everything seems to need to flow through Ryan O'Donoghue if you want to get points on the board. He can't do it all on his own. He needs a few kickers, and Killian's definitely someone who could do that. But he's not the only one I would sort of put in there. Obviously, you have the likes of Cuba Callahan, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
You have Dara Byrne. There's just so many young talents that could be brought in. Colin Boyle, someone who could help with that. Obviously, now he's in the backroom team. His role previously in Mayo was bridging that gap from under 17 to under 20. He was almost like a development officer in a way. He would sort of nurture those players, because there's a big gap between under 17 and under 20. There's a similar gap between under 20 and senior intercounty football. It's a massive jump. So he'd be able to facilitate that. He's played in Mayo colours before. He's probably played against some of these players that he would be bringing into the panel with his club. Obviously, he's still playing in the back, so he would have plenty of experience marking those players. So it's just something interesting, and he could be key to sort of be in that pathway. Yeah,
but you mentioned Colin Boyle, and obviously there's also on the backroom team confirmed Paddy Talley.
Yeah.
And we know these two. We don't know the full backroom team, but looking at those two and Andy Moran, how would they interact, and what are their advantages? What do they all bring to the?
I think there could be a good sort of dynamic there. Again, like we said before, Andy and Colin Boyle would obviously know each other quite well from their time in intercounty. That's one thing. I think Paddy Talley had something interesting there. He's a proven track record as a coach, especially now you look at the word defensive minded. Obviously, like we've seen, Andy was a forwards coach with Monaghan. Paddy Talley's been sort of a backs coach for a long time. He had great success with Kerry. Sure, he guided them to an All-Ireland title only a few years ago. Well, he was in the backroom team as a backs coach, but that was something that needed tweak in Kerry at that time, and he was sort of a bit of like a hidden ingredient or missing ingredient. And listen, it could be a great marriage there, I think.
There's exciting times ahead for Mayo football. At the moment, there's a club championship going on. By the way, if you haven't picked up the Mayo newsletter, we've got coverage of all the senior and intermediate club championship matches from last weekend, and most of the junior championship matches as well. A nice feature on Ballycroy there as well about their new surface on the pitch. Also, don't forget to have a look on mayonews.ie before I forget. But also, look, Oisín, the two of us and our colleagues, Michael Geller, Ron O'Donnell, will be out on the pitches. We might actually bump into Andy Moran or Colin Boyle.
Yeah, you probably will. I guarantee you'll be seeing them around. They'll be out scoping for you people to bring into the panel, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah. If I were Andy or Colin, you know, I just try to pick some sort of disguise on me, because everyone would be like pestering you with questions.
Yeah, I'd definitely be laying low. I'd be perching a nice baseball cap and a nice pair of sunglasses anyway.
Maybe get those good old COVID masks out, maybe, who knows.
Yeah, you might need them, yeah.
That's it for today. Look, there's plenty to talk about. As I mentioned earlier, go to mayonews.ie and get all the latest, and we'll see you again. Maybe tomorrow. We still have a little bit of a recap to be doing about the yeah,
there was so much action over the weekend, wasn't there?
so much, and we didn't even get a chance to talk about it today. But look, that's the way the business goes, and that's it for now. See you again on Pitchside, the Mayo News Sports Weekly.